Hello everyone, happy Saturday. Welcome back to Clues by Sam. We have a hard one today, May the 30th. And if you're new here, you don't know what Clues by Sam is. I play this every day here on the channel and I explain the logic as I solve it so I can possibly help you or get you unstuck if you need any help. And the link is in the description if you want to try for your first time. I don't recommend trying the hard one for first, but if you want to try the easy one from the start of the week, you can see all the puzzles here below the one that we're playing today, right from Monday, so you can play all of them following each other. And yeah, I'm going to start mine right now, and we see how this goes. I already saw that there's a woodchuck here. Very interesting. Now, but Nick says that Bruce and Donna have two instant neighbors in common. So where's Bruce and Donna? They have two neighbors in common. So both of those have to be instants. And we dismiss Nick's clue by clicking on it and then it goes sort of see-through. Now Cheryl says that row 3 is the only row with 3 instants. Okay, so we need 2 more here in row 3. And Helen says that Bruce and Lisa have 2 instant neighbors in common. So Bruce and Lisa have 3 neighbors in common, and 2 of those are instants. So one of the instants is Helen herself. The second instant is gonna be one of the other 2 neighbors that they share. And that's why we tag them with the same color so that we remember that when we turn the yellow person into an instant, then the other yellow person is gonna be a criminal. Now, row 2 is gonna end up with 2 instants among these 3 people here, Alan and a second one. There's one more person in that row who's Ivan. If Ivan comes to be an instant, we would have 3 instants total in row 2, but Cheryl tells us that row 3 is the only row with 3 instants. So because of that, we know that Ivan has to be a criminal. And Ivan now says that only one of the 2 criminals neighboring Emma is in row 1. So Emma has 2 people neighboring her in row 1, and same thing as what happened in row 2, only one of those 2 is going to be a criminal, which means that the other person is automatically going to be an innocent. And same thing now happens in row 1 as it happened in row 2. There's one more person in row 1 who couldn't be an instant, otherwise we would end up with 3 instants in row 1. So Donna has to be a criminal now. And Donna says that Tina is one of Nick's 5 criminal neighbors. So we know now that Tina is a criminal. And Nick has 3 more that we have to find because Ivan also neighbors Nick. So I'm leaving these clues here because they tell us information about the total for each person. So if I need to reference that in the future, I can come back and look at it. Like, for example, Ivan is telling us about the total for Emma, so I'll look at that in the future, possibly. Tina now says that only one criminal in row 5 has an instant directly to the right of them. So one criminal in row 5, we're not talking about any person in row 5, we're talking about one criminal who has an instant to the right of them. So this is very complicated because how does that go in terms of how many instances are in their row? Let's say that Vince is a criminal in row 5. Let's say that Vince is the only criminal in row 5 with an instant to their right. That would make it so that we couldn't have Savvy be a criminal with an instant to his right. Is it? Let me go back to row 3 because I think I'm jumping ahead here. In row 3, we need 3 instants, right? Because that's what Cheryl tells us, that there's 3 instants in row 3. Could all 3 of those be Jason, Lisa, and Nick? And if they were, they will make Pip automatically a criminal because he's also in row 3. And Emma would still need a second criminal neighbor because she only has one here in row 1 so far. So that would force Gus to be her second criminal neighbor. And now Nick still needs one more criminal neighboring him, who could be either Ruth or Saga. There's no reason why one of them couldn't be. What if, on the other hand, Emma's second criminal neighbor was here, and it was Jason, for example? That would make Pip an innocent, and it would force Gus to be an innocent as well. If that happened, are there enough people for Nick to have 5 criminal neighbors, as Donna says that he needs? No, there aren't, because now Nick has only Ruth and Saga left who could be criminals neighboring him, and that would total 4 criminals neighboring Nick. So we know that Emma couldn't have her last criminal neighbor be here in row 3. Unless it were Lisa. Because if Lisa is a criminal, then she is also neighboring Nick, and that would have Ivan, Tina, Lisa, and Ruth and Saga making 5 criminals neighboring Nick. So what couldn't happen is Jason in row 3 being a criminal neighboring Emma, because that will break Nick. So we know that Jason is for sure an innocent. And now we know that Lisa and Gus are, one of them is going to be the last criminal neighbor for Emma, which gives Nick a 3rd criminal here in column B, neighboring him. But now Jason tells us that Amy is one of 3 criminals in the corner. So Amy is a criminal, and she was orange, so she was opposites with Bruce, who's also orange, so we make him innocent. And we have one more criminal in the corner to find, so now we know that either Vince or Zed, who are in the corners left, are gonna be opposites, because only one of them is gonna be a criminal, so we make them orange so they can be opposites. And now we also know that there's one criminal in row 5 that has an innocent to the right of them, so it could be Vince, but it couldn't be Zed. So let's keep an eye on that. But we get 2 new clues up here. Amy says there's an odd number of criminals neighboring Lisa. So where's Lisa? Lisa is gonna have one criminal neighboring her here in row 2. Oh, we also know that Lisa and Pip are opposites, because there's only one criminal here in row 3. But we're talking about criminals neighboring Lisa, right? There's no way that row 4 could have all 3 people left here be innocents, because we know that row 3 is the only row with 3 innocents. So that would make either 2 of them, is it? One of them an innocent. And why is that? Because Lisa needs an odd number of criminals, and she has 1 here in row 2. So to keep an odd number, she would need to have 2 in row 4. If she had only 1, she would have 2 criminals total neighboring her, and that's an even number. So she needs 2 criminals or none, and none couldn't be because row 4 would have 3 innocents, which it can't have. So Lisa has 2 criminals neighboring her in row 4. Let's keep that in mind. What does Bruce say? What does Bruce say? There's an equal number of criminals in rows 2 and 5. And now we know how many are there in row 2. It's 2. So there has to be 2 criminals in row 5. And we know about one of them here. That's either Vince or Zed. So that makes the other 2 people left in row 5 also opposites, because one of them is gonna have to be the second and last criminal. Okay? So how would this configuration go? If we know that the thing is Emma has 1 criminal here, right? And Lisa has 2 criminals neighboring her in row 4. So could Ruth and Saga both be criminals? I mean, they would need to be, right? Nick needs 5 criminals. It could be Ivan, Tina, Gus, or Lisa. That's 3, 4, 5. But could Kita be a criminal? Kita is a criminal, and these guys are opposites. It works. It works because Pip could be a criminal. And that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 with somebody here. Somebody who would need to be Gus because Pip makes Lisa an innocent. But that's not solving anything for us here. Let's look at row 5 then. Let's try to make Zed a criminal. If Zed's a criminal, he will be the third and last criminal in a corner, which would make Vince an innocent. And now, still Tina says that we need 1 criminal in row 5 with an innocent to their right. Now, the second criminal in row 5 would need to be a Will. Because if Will is not a criminal, if he's an innocent, that will make Xavier a criminal. And now we have no criminals in row 5 who have an innocent to their right. Because Xavier has a criminal to his right and he's a criminal, and Zed doesn't have anybody to his right. If Zed is not a criminal, if he's an innocent, that will make Vince the third and last innocent in a corner. And that would now force Will to be an innocent. Because Will would need... Because if Will ends up being a criminal, that would work for Tina's school. Because Vince, although Vince is a criminal, he has Will as a criminal to his right. So it doesn't make 2 criminals with innocence to their right. So what did we learn? That Will is always a criminal? Because if Will is an innocent, that will make 2 criminals with an innocent to their rights. So it doesn't matter who is a criminal in a corner, Will has to be a criminal. Always. Right? Like, this scenario is impossible. And this scenario is impossible. So, Will is a criminal. And we also know that Xavier is an innocent. They were opposites. Will now says that Zed is one of Tina's 2 criminal neighbors. So now we know that Zed is the last criminal, which makes Vince an innocent. And Tina has to have 1 more criminal neighbor who's either Saga or Pip. So we tag them and dismiss Will's clue. We can dismiss the one about criminals in a corner as well. Where is it? Jason's clue. Zed says that only 1 person in a corner has no innocent neighbors. Okay, that person is for sure not Donna, because Donna already has 2 innocent neighbors. Amy also already has an innocent neighbor. Vince couldn't have an innocent neighbor. Since Lisa has 2 criminals in row 4 neighboring her, we couldn't have Ruth be an innocent. Because if Ruth is an innocent, that will make... we could. But that would make Saga a criminal and Kita a criminal. And now both Vince and Zed have innocents neighboring them, right? Also, I noticed that Zed already has an innocent, so the only person in a corner who could have no innocent neighbors is Vince. So we know for sure that Kita and Ruth are criminals. Sorry about that. And now we know that Saga is an innocent. And Saga was opposite with Pip, so we know that Pip is a criminal. Pip was opposite with Lisa, so we know that Lisa is an innocent. And we know that Gus is a criminal. And we know that Emma is an innocent. Okay. That was good. Very nice. Oh, very hard. 21% of the people only have a perfect solve. So that was very hard. Interesting because I think like right at the beginning there, I was sort of, I don't think, maybe I wasn't, but I feel like I was steered in the direction of looking at row 5 because on one of the clues talked about row 5. But then I realized that I didn't have enough information, so I had to look at other places. But I don't know. I don't know if that was me looking in the wrong direction. But I'm inclined to believe that because of the percentage of people getting a perfect 12, it was a little bit of the puzzle kind of giving you a clue that makes you believe that you gotta look into one direction. So you have to have a high, what's the word for it? You have to have a high intention, and catch yourself looking at the thing that doesn't have enough information yet, because just as much as I noticed that I was looking at a point I wasn't supposed to look at in the puzzle, I could have been stuck there trying so many different scenarios and involving a lot of people in the puzzle who would have not affected their role at that time, and trying it out with different tags and so, but not getting anywhere. So sometimes you just gotta have that, I don't know what would be the right term for it, but you gotta catch yourself and think about, okay, I shouldn't be looking at this right now. I should look elsewhere, and then bring the whole picture in and see where you should be looking. Hope that makes sense. Very nice, valuable lesson for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you have a nice weekend. I'll see you tomorrow for more Clues by Sam. And last warning, no live stream for today, but tomorrow we finish Forklift. Bye bye.